Welcome everyone to another video here, video vlog. Such a beautiful day here in Crete, and I hope you're all doing well, and that life is every day feeling like a huge blessing, because it is. I really believe that every day we get to wake up to this life, to this body, to the beauty all around you, that it is truly a blessing. We get to be here. And today I would love to talk to you about my journey in the last 20 years, a little bit more than 20 years, in Buddhism, and the many teachings that I have been so deeply devoted to, and how that has changed that direction. I already talked in my last video a little bit about that change, but I didn't really specifically talk about my own path in Buddhism. So I want to clarify that a little bit more. And I would love for you to check if you would like to read instead of looking at these videos and hearing me talk on my Substack. So I will put that in the description below. I am sharing there a lot about my experiences in the last 20 years, where I was really deeply devoted. I was really devoted to Buddhism, and also a mix of, all kinds of self-development practices. We could also call them, some of them are kind of New Age, but I wasn't really a lot in that New Age. I did some tarot reading, but very little. So here and there I kind of had some of that, but mostly my path was in Buddhism. And I write a little bit more about that also on my Substack. So sometimes in writing I'm a little bit better to structure things. So when I'm just talking, it just comes, I don't have a script, so it just comes as it comes, and sometimes it's a bit messy when I talk. Sometimes I think it would be good to have some, bullet points for me to, check when I'm talking, so it doesn't become too long, but I will do my best. So when I was 24, I came to a point in my life where I really wanted to find out who I am and why I'm here. I was in my teens and beginning of my 20s, I was really depressed. I wasn't happy. I didn't understand what this life was about. It didn't make any sense to me how I saw people living their lives. And in some ways I did had some fun, I had relationships, and I was in love, and I had different types of jobs. I worked as a bartender for some time in a restaurant, in a cinema, And then I became a social worker. I did that for a while. So I did different types of things. I worked in a nature shop. There was different types of jobs that I did. Eventually, I wanted to work with people. So I really loved going deeper into psychology. And then when I started to work with people and people that had autism, people that had all kind of psychiatric, mental difficulties, I saw that this kind of environment was really so far from what I had in mind to work with people. And so 2 years later, I just stopped. And I didn't know where I wanted to go with my life. Like, what do I want to do then? And that's where the deeper questions came. And so I started to look into yoga, because I loved working with my body. I loved always to dance, so that was already since a young age. I loved dancing and I loved working with my body. And yoga seemed, a deeper kind of way of connecting with the body, but also there was a deeper meaning behind the connection of the body. So it really intrigued me, and that's how I started when I was 24 with yoga. So there's a lot of Buddhist kind of philosophies behind yoga, and that was just as important to me than working on the body. So I really was deeply curious about that path. And so I went to India and studied. I did a lot of self-study. I met with a lot of Tibetan people, and I felt such a deep resonance with Tibetan people. So I knew that there was something for me there. Like, okay, there's something for me, and I really want to find out what that is. And I started to see more and more how Buddhism actually fit so much with how I saw life. Like, okay, it's so different from what I was experiencing. Suddenly it made sense, because Buddhism gives you basically a very clear understanding of how we can move through life without too much suffering. and all the practices that I was doing to kind of quiet the mind, going into stillness, it took me a long time, I must say, because I had a mind that was really going left and right, and it was very difficult for me in the beginning. Meditation was a huge challenge for me. Yet I really wanted to go and do all the practices. I started more with the Tantrayana Buddhism, so that's one stream of the Buddhist practices, let's say. So because they work a lot with the body, so I wanted to go that direction. So I did a lot of Tsalung. So Tsalung is a lot of breathing work. Tibetan, it's all from Tibet, right? It was really Tibetan Buddhism that got me started in all of this. Then I also started to do Tibetan yoga. So I did first Hatha yoga, then I started really deeper into studying Tibetan yoga. So I met my Tibetan teacher. That was in 2011, and I got really a lot of teachings from him. So I got the Tibetan sword. I did a lot of Tumo, which is fire, the fire practices, which is now very known by Wim Hof, the Iceman. He's basically teaching Tumo, and so many different practices. Also, Guru Yoga. Guru Yoga is basically how we can submit and kind of like put our egos aside and submit to something higher. And yeah, so many initiations I went through. Yeah, so maybe I'm gonna just put here a whole list of the things, because I cannot even remember all of it, because it was a lot. I did a lot of things, and they really, really did help me with 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 my mind. I had a very clear understanding now of how the mind works and how it is just kind of like very easily distracted, and I got to observe that from so closely. Then from there I wanted to go deeper into Dzogchen, which is, like they say in Tantrayana, the highest path. And I felt ready for that. So I felt really like, okay, this is going to be the next step, which is also very similar to non-duality teachings. So Dzogchen is basically non-duality teachings. It's about really abiding into full awareness, into being, into isness. Just there's emptiness, there's nothing else, there's just this. And that intrigued me so deeply, because it really felt like as if I could breathe, as if I could finally find a place that felt like freedom, that felt like spacious, that felt like in this chaotic world, that was the key for me to just basically find that deeper connection with freedom, with love, with peace, with joy, with it. It just like that was what I initially really had, like, okay, let's practice this, let's go into this. So I studied a lot around non-duality, a lot around Dzogchen. I went to workshops. I met a lot of actually people that I started to privately study with, and one of the teachers, who is he calls himself a Zen teacher in Australia, and that was a very intense experience for me, because I just actually realized, like, oh, maybe I'm just really not ready for this because he was pointing me always to where I was still kind of like in duality, and where I was still seeing someone else outside of myself. Like there was always a me and other. And it was so subtle sometimes, I didn't even realize that was what I was still in. And I got sometimes so frustrated with him, because of course I thought, well, if I'm gonna get this, I will be an enlightened being, you know. So I really wanted to kind of get it, like learn, like how do I do that? And so, but there was this really conflict inside of me already. Like I felt there was something off, and I couldn't really pinpoint what it was. Like there was something that I felt was feeling very detached and cold, and everything was so abstract. like I was just like, where is the love here? And where is the warmth? And where is the relationship? It seems like even relationships collapse because there's no two, there's only one. So there's no relationship in that sense. So I totally got a little bit lost in all of that, frustrated and kind of like, I am never going to get this. And I tried for many years, like to maybe look at it from different angles, listen to different teachers, Adyashanti, Gangaji, Muji, all ending on G. I went to workshop retreats of all of them, and I mean, and I had private teachings even for 6 months in Australia with the Zen teacher. After all this, after I put all the work in, I was still like kind of like, why do I feel there is something missing here? Why do I feel not fulfilled with this? Even though it sounds so perfect in so many ways, like it made so much sense in so many ways also. Yet I couldn't feel my heart in it. Like it was, yeah. So now, looking back now, when I am starting really to have a relationship with Jesus and with God, I start to see why I was actually not feeling fulfilled in that path and why it felt so cold. And so that's why I started already some months ago with a video to share with you, like, God is not impersonal. God is not abstract. God is not just universe or source or energy, or, you know, it is, it, you know, like, I know it's like we love to see God as something abstract because it's easy in a way, because we don't need to kind of like go into that surrender. And even though, you know, I already had glimpses in Tibetan Buddhism about, you know, how to submit, how to be obedient, because Guru Yoga was actually a kind of like a practice like that. But I feel like that was like, again, like, which guru, who, what, you know, Buddha, you know, but even a lot of Tibetan teachers, they, you know, you just, doesn't really matter. Like, just imagine someone, you know, like, that is maybe enlightened, but, you know, there's so many Tibetan teachers, they are not. And I don't even know who really is. So, you know, some they say they are, and I don't actually. Now I see like, there is such a fundamental thing missing with so many of these teachers, that I was like, yeah, they really believe that they have the truth. But when I look at Jesus and when I look at the teachings of Jesus, there is really something fundamentally missing here. And so from that time on, I just saw like what for me was that struggle, like the frustration. And I thought it was something to do with me. There was something missing, and there was something, you know, like maybe I'm still seeking, maybe it's my mind. I was, you know, and it can become also this kind of striving towards something, because it was, in a sense, because I really wanted generally to get out of suffering, to really get out of that little ego mind. And so yes, I was very devoted to break through that. And yet there was again a me that had the desire of wanting something. So that's not, like Muji would say, well, who is the one that is desiring, Dewi? You would say that. So again, these teachings has taught me a lot, and I'm super grateful for it. I can really say that my mind has become so much more freer and so much more clear. And now I can feel like my heart is becoming warm, is becoming fulfilled. I even feel like tears coming up right now that I just, that's my relationship with Christ. And that's something that nothing in this world can compare to that. Because eventually we are this, what is in our hearts. And yes, the mind is also important, but if this is not fulfilled, yeah. So and I do want to get more into, the specifics of the differences of Christianity and Buddhism, where there are really a lot of overlaps as well, like really a lot of overlaps. And I will again put that here, what the overlaps are. And where it differs, where it starts to really differ, these two paths, and why I actually chose Christianity, following Christ. I'm still kind of very new on this path, on the path of Christ. And so I am learning each day, and I am very good at discerning, I must say, because I have such a broad background. I didn't grow up religiously. I didn't grow up with the Bible. So I have in a way, I have a very open mind to go into it. I'm not already like this, like many people going in like this, and that's all that they know. And so that's also, I find, a danger of a lot of people that are actually never get to experience like a broader sense of spirituality. Because not saying that, all of them, they go astray and they are distorted and misled, but a lot of them are, and it's very sad to see. And even to the point where I see a lot of Christians also like saying things to other people that I'm not, no, this is not how Jesus would want you to speak to them, even though they really mean well sometimes. Yeah. I think that for now I'm gonna leave it for now, because it's already quite a long video. And yeah, I definitely, I already promised you that I want to do another video on light language, because light language is something that really naturally came to me. I didn't even know the word. And there is such a thing in Christianity that's called talking in tongues. And maybe some of you have heard of that. And so I looked it up. I went really deeply into like, okay, was I being misled with these kind of light languages, and I was just channeling maybe from beings that really are not even, you know, like benevolent. So, but I knew all this time that the light language that I always shared here also on my channel was really pure from my heart. And I think that, you know, like even now it's even more, like I do feel like I am also growing in that. So it becomes even like the Holy Spirit, you know, was planted in my heart, and I really feel like from that moment on it just only grows and grows and grows and grows. And so also my choices, they become more discerning. Everything becomes more refined in so many ways, and so also the light language becomes more refined. And so yes, I still believe that this is a very beautiful way of healing, and yet there's also many, many, many out there that are teaching light language, but really not from the place where it naturally should actually unfold from. I don't know how to say that really in a good way, but yeah, it's sadly really a lot of people that are just misusing it. And there's also, again, you know, in every spiritual path, whether it's New Age, whether it's Buddhism, whether it's Christianity, whether it's whatever, there is distortion. If we are not individually looking at what the distortions are and how we can actually find out where we are out of alignment, and where we are not honoring God, where we're not honoring Christ. So that's our jobs. I cannot do that for anyone. I can only do that for myself, and I'm not saying that I'm perfectly there. So also keep on being humble. That's, I think, also a really sign of someone that is attuned to God. Because if we're becoming arrogant and we say we have the truth and this is how it is and this is, you know, then we actually take away of the mystery of God. Thank you all. Thank you, thank you, thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. Sending you so much love and blessings. In Jesus' name, amen.